Trae Young is definitely not Steph Curry yet. Let's chill. And send. Alright, what's up everybody? This is Bookmarked and I'm Richie O'Reilly. This week we're talking about how J.R. Smith does not love the Henny, but maybe Kendrick Nunn does because he thinks he should be this year's Rookie of the Year over Ja Morant. And we also have the NFL Draft coming up, which will have aired by the time this comes out, which means Roger Goodell would have found a new way to get booed without any fans. So let's strap in, let's talk sports, in case you missed it. Alright, in case you missed it. That's right, you heard me correctly. Everyone's favorite shirtless three-point specialist, J.R. Smith, is in fact not a Hennessy drinker. So all those photos you have of him holding bottles, calling them Henny, all these memes you have, while excellent, they are not factual. This shakes the foundations of everything I know about you, JR. Do you even like being shirtless? Do you even like hitting three-pointers? Do you even like following LeBron around? I don't know. Who are you? Next, Christian McCaffrey is getting paid, becoming the highest paid running back in NFL history, earning $64 million over the next 4 years. That's a check I would very much like to receive. Now, he's honestly deserved this despite the declining value in running backs overall, as he's the only running back in NFL history with both 2,500 receiving and rushing yards in his first 3 years. This Panthers team is going to need him to continue to do that, and maybe a little bit of whatever this is. Good for you for locking it up, Panthers and McCaffrey. Secure the bag. Okay, if you watched The Tiger King, this was the funniest thing you saw all week. If you didn't watch The Tiger King, the hell have you been doing for the past couple weeks? Because there's literally nothing else going on. Let's get with the times, people. Now, people took the cast of The Tiger King and put them into NBA 2K and did a simulated game between the two sides. And the commentary is absolutely hilarious. My personal favorite line, Carol Baskins is normally a killer on defense, but tonight, she's missing, just like her husband. So for all of you who get that and all of you who think Carol Baskins killed her husband, please give me more info here because I honestly can't decide and this has been killing me. This is hilarious. The link will be in the description. Alright, for all my baseball fans out there, this is not an unfamiliar sight to you. Joe Kelly missed his spot. I don't know how you missed this giant target so bad, but he managed to completely break his window with his changeup. And look, I know you gotta be able to experiment with stuff, you gotta get your feel out there, and honestly, it's kinda harsh of his wife to put this out there, but this is not what I wanna see going into a new season as a Dodgers fan. Not great, Joe Kelly. Alright, one person who's definitely not having a terrible week in quarantine is Sabrina Ionescu, who was just recently drafted #1 overall to the New York Liberty in the WNBA draft. This girl is a stud. This is not surprising at all. If we look at her stats, she had 26 triple-doubles in her career at Oregon, over twice as many as any other D1 player, and she's the only player in NCAA history to finish with 2,000 points, 1,000 rebounds, and 1,000 assists, and that's in men's and women's. She absolutely dominated in her career at Oregon and worked closely with Kobe, so this is a really cool story, and what makes it even better is the support she's been receiving recently, with all of her jerseys selling out in around an hour. That is awesome, and honestly, they are pretty cool. I might need to get one myself. Sabrina Ionescu, good for you. This is awesome. Alright, it's time to play Retweet or Delete here, and our first story is Kendrick Nunn, Rookie of the Year. According to him, he is saying, quote, "The most value should be in wins, and our team has been holding it down. We're a playoff team, so go ahead and give that Rookie of the Year to Kendrick Nunn." Talking in third person, a bit weird. But Ja Morant replied with a nice little gif of him laughing, which opened up this debate. Who's the Rookie of the Year? Kendrick Nunn? I'm deleting that. This one's Ja Morant for me. He's got the story, he's got the narrative, and he's got the stats. Let's look at the stats here. Ja was averaging 17.6, 3.5, and 6.9 points, rebounds, assists. Kendrick Nunn, 15.6, 2.7, 3.4 points, rebounds, assists. Ja's got the upper hand there. PER, 18 for Ja Morant, 13.5 for Kendrick Nunn. Point Ja Morant. Win share, 3.4 Ja Morant, 2.4 Kendrick Nunn. Point Ja Morant. He's winning in all these categories. Yes, Kendrick Nunn is a good defender, and yes, his story is also cool coming out of nowhere, but this has to be Ja Morant for me. I'm sorry, Kendrick Nunn. You are not the Rookie of the Year. Zion is not the Rookie of the Year. It's Ja Morant. Alright, our next hot take comes from Shaquille O'Neal himself. When asked who would win between his Lakers and MJ's Bulls, Shaq said the Lakers would win easily. This one I'm giving a soft retweet. Yes, I think the Lakers actually would win this. Am I biased? Probably a little bit. Will my answer change after watching this new documentary? Maybe, hopefully not. But here's why, and Shaq actually points this out pretty well himself here. Who's guarding the big man? This dude was absolutely dominant. And there's plenty of awesome pieces on the Bulls that will tear apart some of the pieces on the Lakers, but there's just nobody who can stop Shaq. This one's got to go to the Lakers for me. Sorry. All right, we're moving to Instagram here to get a hot take out of Jackson Hayes, who in an interview with Buster Scher said that the Pelicans are going to win a ring before both the Warriors and the Grizzlies. And I gotta delete this one. For me, the answer pretty clearly here is the Warriors. Both the Pelicans and the Grizzlies have a young core, and they both could eventually make moves, but way too early for both those sides for me. The Warriors here actually have Steph and Clay who could come back healthy and are potentially one piece away depending who they add and what they get in the draft. Next year's gonna be a juggernaut. It's gonna be a tough year, but they got a chance for me. You never know. It goes Warriors, Pelicans, Grizzlies for me. Love what the Grizzlies have, but I don't think they're ready for this type of action yet. All right, you know you've been inside too long when you start reading these takes. Quote, Steph is probably the greatest shooter of all time, but Trey is a much better scorer than Steph. Let's calm down. I'm deleting this one. I like Trae Young. I am not saying he's a much better scorer than Steph, and I don't think your numbers are saying that either here. Field goal percentage in Steph's worst career season, 451. Trey's best, 437. Three-point percentage in his worst career season, 411. Trey's best, 361. True shooting percentage, 568 for Steph, 595 for Trae. This is where he hasn't beat. But then effective field goal percentage, 535 for Steph, 519 for Trae. Yes, best is only Trey's second season. That's fine, I understand, but this is what I'm saying. He has room to grow. Even if you're comparing the first two seasons, they're not the same player. They have a similar type of play, not the same player. I'm taking Steph Curry. Stop doing this. Steph Curry is in a league of his own, at least for now. Maybe Trae will get there one day. Not the same. All right, this week on the Explore page, we're checking out where the different leagues are and their status with COVID-19 and how they're planning to progress after all this ends. Starting with the NFL, who has now had their first positive COVID-19 test with the Rams' Brian Allen. And not long after, Von Miller also tested positive. So that's not great, but the league is still progressing. The NFL draft is going to have aired by the time this comes out. Roger Goodell is probably the only happy person about this whole thing, as he's recording these in his basement over Zoom. This should be interesting. The NBA apparently also still doesn't really know what's going on here. The timetable is not set. They are still considering potential cancellation, which would be a huge bummer, but that's where we are now, hoping something progresses soon so we can get some answers. The other thing that they had tried was the horse tournament, and I was pretty excited about this. It was a huge letdown. Part of that had to do with the poor quality, as people very quickly pointed out. It was blurry, it was hard to see, it was moving around. They clearly hadn't done a lot of testing here, which is understandable, but not great. But good for Mike Conley. He's had a bit of a rough year. He needed this W. He's the champion of the horse tournament, and I applaud the NBA for at least trying. This is something that people were giving a lot of crap for, but good for you, NBA, for trying something new. I don't think it went great, but I'm happy that people are at least trying new things while we're doing this. That's all you can ask for. That hopefully will make them better for the next thing they come up with. Baseball is back. Kind of. The Chinese Baseball League is resumed, and we've got some walk-off home runs, some ding-dongs here. This is at least something. If you're willing to wake up in the middle of the night to watch this, which maybe I am, who knows? This is kind of exciting. I like having some baseball. The crack of the bat sounded so nice. It's great to have it back. What are we looking at here with the timetable of the league? Well, apparently the financial impact of all of this is going to be the latest discussion. Jeff Passan saying that the MLB and MLBPA both agreed to a deal earlier, but those negotiations could be affected by the amount of fans in the stands being 0. So if that is the case, there could be financial negotiations that go on, and neither side really wants to do that, so who knows how that'll end up, but that's something that's currently being discussed. The other thing that's happening is in regards to where the league had said it was previously thinking having players quarantine in hotels away from their families, and now more players are coming out saying that they might not be interested. Mike Trout in particular, who carries a pretty strong voice in this game, as you can imagine. For every Mike Trout, there's also another player who does want to play. So this is going to get very interesting. How are we going to differentiate between the two sides? I hope we get it back sooner rather than later, but I also don't want to see a compromised version of baseball where we're missing out on the Mike Trouts and the Clayton Kershaws if it came down to that. All right, it's time for us to play it forward. Now more than ever, we really need to see all the positivity that comes out of sports, even when we're not playing. Pirates infielder Cole Tucker shared this story of how when he was a fan, he got the chance to meet Hunter Pence and get an autograph from him. Now, they're playing in the same league together. And he shared this story when Hunter Pence was on second base last year, and Hunter went back and forth with him saying, quote, "There's someone in the crowd today who's looking up to you the same way you looked up to me. Never forget that." And that's one of those really cool things that it's true. It really is true. There's people in those stands who really care a lot about these athletes, and the little things like that really make a difference. All right, now this might be the best example of athletes and celebrities really coming together to make a difference, and this is really, really cool. The All-In Challenge was started by Michael Rubin, the owner of the 76ers, and it's designed to have people give back in any way possible with cool, awesome experiences. Just look at some of these. This is insane. Walk on a role in Scorsese film with DiCaprio and De Niro. Be Ellen's next co-host on the Ellen DeGeneres Show. Texas football experience with Matthew McConaughey. Throughout the first pitch at the World Series, Mark Cuban one-day contract to play with the Mavs. This is really cool, and it's really, really helpful. All the money is going to Meals on Wheels, No Hungry Kid, America's Food Fund, and other foundations such as these. I checked a couple days ago, it was at $4 million raised. It is now at $13 million raised, and by the time you see this, it'll be far greater than that. It goes to a great, great cause. Please check this out. All right, it's time for us to end with winners and losers. Loser, participation. And this first one here is not funny whatsoever. NASCAR driver Kyle Larson was suspended and later fired, losing his sponsors after dropping a racial slur in an online virtual race, which is just horrible. There's no place for this in sports, in the world in general, and the fact that there's any people defending this out there at all right now is shameful and embarrassing. No place for this in the world of sports. I'm glad there was swift action here. Moving to the darts world, we had our first DNP as a result of bad Wi-Fi. That's right, Gary Anderson was ruled out of an event because his Wi-Fi was not strong enough. I don't know where this guy is that he doesn't have good enough Wi-Fi. That's honestly kind of a bummer for him, but kind of funny. DNP because of bad Wi-Fi. Haven't seen that one before. The Last Dance is bringing out some heated conversation regarding the GOAT MJ versus the GOAT LeBron. People are already starting war over this. We've got the LeBron stans coming out in full force, ready to defend at any cost. The MJ fans ready to finally show that this is their GOAT. And then you got people who just don't really care and are looking to cause any type of trouble. This is gonna be interesting. I'm super excited to learn about all this, but prepare for Twitter to be insufferable with this whole GOAT debate for a while. The interesting thing about this here that did come out recently, Ramona Shelburne reported that MJ decided to release this documentary in 2016, right after the Cavs have won, which has caused some people to theorize that this is maybe a push to have him defend his GOAT status against LeBron, having it come right after LeBron had won his ring with Cleveland. Who knows what his ultimate motivation is? It's an interesting theory here, but be ready for more GOAT debates than ever because this is what we're getting into. Honestly, I'm fine with a little bit of insufferable GOAT debate to have an awesome documentary like this, so whatever. All right, now the real reason you guys stuck along this whole time, the beard. Am I keeping this thing? I know it looks horrible, but there's a small part of me that looks at Steph Curry's random beard growth and decides maybe I got a chance for some late bloomers. Probably not super realistic, but that's what we're dealing with at this point for my only hope. If you have any suggestions on what you want to see coming up here, you want to come on the show, talk sports, let's do it. Hit me up. You know where to find me. Toss a comment in here and give us a subscribe. Thanks, guys. Stay bookmarking.